Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. In our previous video, talked about common table expressions or CTEs. Today we'll be looking at temp table. Just as you can guess, temp table simply means temporal table. So for CTEs, these are tables that are created within your SQL queries, and then they are not being stored anywhere. So you can't run a select from CTE table without running the entire queries, right? But for temp tables, you can do that. So these temp tables actually created a table within your database, right? I don't get to know where they are stored, but they are being created on your database, and you can run the query on. You can select them and query this temporary table on SQL. So a popular use case for temp table would be storing down data on another separate table. Maybe because of you want to save runtime issues or memory usage, right? You want to save runtime, so you don't want to quick writing queries and keep running them. So I'm going to illustrate on how you can create tables. I'm going to illustrate on how these tables can help you save runtime, and then we'll go ahead to do more complex queries to create temporal table. So remember in our last video we created a table called sales table, right? Go ahead and run these and see what the sales table looks like. Select from. And then this is what the sales tables looks like from our previous videos. So from here, you want to create a temp table. It's just a similar way to when you create a regular table on SQL. So you create table, then you put this hash symbol here, and you say temp sales, right? So once you put this temp sales, and then you can go ahead and then put in the values. You can say customer ID integer, amount numeric is carried 9,2. Then payment status, you can go ahead and say this is voucher 30, and here you want to add a check constraint that tells you payment status is equal to paid, or payment status is equal to unpaid. So this check constraint enables us to ensure that this particular field only accepts two values, which is it can be either paid or unpaid. So here we'll go ahead and run our query. Okay, run successfully. So we want to see what it looks like. So we can say select from hash temp sales, and then we can go ahead and run this. So we can see that we have a temporal table for this called temp sales. Now we can insert values into this temp table just where we can do the same for a regular table in SQL. You can say insert into temp sales values so first I want to add is I say 1001 for customer ID, then amount $3,400.32. That's $400.32. Then wants to make this paid, and then we go ahead and then run this and see. sorry. Okay, so that value has been added to this, so we can go ahead and see what the table looks like now. So this how this new value for the table is how you can insert values into a temp table. Another way we want to insert value, and this is one of the most important use cases that I've been talking about, is that we can actually add or insert value by just simply putting an insert into um, temp sales. So we don't want to go ahead putting in values one by one, so we can definitely select from an existing table in our database and just insert values into this temp table. So if we go ahead and run this here, we see that it has been affected. That means we have added some values here. So let's go ahead and visualize what the table looks like now. So see, this is our temp table, and it has all of these values by just running this query. So we can insert into temp sales by just selecting from an existing table. So if you are conversant with the Python pandas way of doing copying a database, copying a table using dot copy, right? This is another way you can actually copy. You can actually still copy tables in Excel. So for SQL, this is a way you can actually copy um, all the um, all the entries or data contained in a table into another temporary table, because you don't want to always, maybe you want to use this for you want to save this temporary table somewhere so that you don't get to have issues while working with the main data, right? You want to have this table and then you can work with it anytime, any day that you want. So another use case for this, how you can insert table, let's do a little more complex stuff. Let's say we want to create a temp customer table here. So first thing I want to do is I want to see what the customers table looks like. So select from customer, then I can go ahead and run this. Great. So now this is what the customers table looks like. Now we did something on CTs regarding to customer table. Now let's see how we can implement something similar while working with temp table. So we can try to say create table hashtag temp customer, right? Then let's just put one here, and then we can go ahead and create this. So the first thing we want to put in this table, want to have ID, and this ID will be integer. Want to have first name and varchar 50. Want to have last name to be varchar. Sorry, misspelled it. 50. Want to have this. Want to have gender. Varchar 10. And then lastly, we want to have something called average amount, and we want this to be numerical 9,2. Awesome. So this syntax is just creating a new temp table, right, for customer one. And then let's go ahead to run this query. Awesome. So we can go ahead and say select from temp customer one here. And then when we run this here, we can see that this is our new temporary table, right? So what we want to do here is how we can insert values into this temporary table. So we can come ahead and say insert into hashtag temp customer one and values, right? So you can do this and then begin to input values one after the other, right? Just the way we did for when we did for temp sales. So another one I want to illustrate here is that we can actually do this instead of inputting values one after the other. We can actually come ahead here and then select write queries here like ID, first name, last name, gender, and here we can go and use an aggregation function here and then say this is amount as average amount. Awesome. From customer, right? Then let's use an inner join because we don't want to see null values in that new table entry. So inner join sales on customer dot ID is equal to sales dot customer ID group by. So I have to group by everything that is not in on the aggregation function here. Group by first name, last name, and gender. Okay, so here we just simply select ID, first name, last name, gender, and then added a new average amount field here to match the data definition of this temp table. Remember, any select you are putting on your temp table should actually match the data definition, which is your field name. If not, SQL is going to throw an error for you. So we can go ahead and run this. Awesome. So then we can select from temp customer one, and let's see what this table looks like now. Awesome. So we have all of these, right? We have ID, first name, last name, gender, and average amount for each customer, right? So this is how you can create a temp table. So now let's do something really quickly. We can run this table all the time that we want to, but assuming we want to run this, and let's see what happens. Okay, SQL throws an error that tells us there is already an object named temp customer one in the database, right? Like I said, this is stored in the database. We don't know where this is stored in the database, but it is stored somewhere so that you can always run your query. So you can't always create an existing temporary table, right? But a little trick that I have used recently or use normally about this use case is that I'll just go ahead here and write this simple query here: drop table if exists, and then I'll write my table name, which is temp customer one here. So whenever I highlight all of these, maybe try and make changes to my temp table from data definition to inserting values, I can have this like this. So it always gives me that output without throwing that error. So the first thing, SQL check if the table exists. If yes, then it dropped it, and then rerun your query for you and give you the new updated outputs. And if the table exists, if no, it actually just output it for you. But if it exists, it drops the initial table and then outputs the updated values for you. So temp tables are really useful um, in data, especially for those in data administration, like for DBA, database administrator, actually use this temp table a lot. So it's very useful techniques in SQL that enables you to create temporary location for your table, and then subsequently you can begin to use this. It actually saves runtime, like how you create table and write query over and over again. But with the temp table, you just go ahead and make some adjustments and then run your queries, and then you are good to go. So you don't have to keep querying a particular um, database table over and over again. This helps you to just actually save runtime issues and memory, right? So this is what the temp tables does. If you like this video, you can comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I promise to always drop some good data analytical concept or content for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you in the next video. Bye bye.